Well, dude, let's can you get
yeah.
that song going?
Yeah.
We should have done a Bayou version for this episode. I thought about it.
A banjo version?
Right. I did take a couple banjo lessons, actually.
What do you mean a couple banjo lessons?
My guitar teacher got his hands on a banjo. And
and he just taught you some
lessons. Yeah.
some licks.
Yep, couple little banjo rolls here and there.
It is the banjo's like a redneck instrument, but isn't it harder than a normal guitar?
Yes and no. I mean, just the way you play, it's very different than a guitar.
Okay, so it's just different.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
very different. And it has a specific technique, and like the tuning's very different. To me, a guitar makes more sense, but I've been playing. I have way
That's
more
because that's all you
experience playing
play.
guitar than
And you're not from the South, that's
banjo.
why.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, if you're I'm trying to think of where the line would even be. I guess if you're from northern Tennessee or further north, you can't play banjo anymore.
That might be fighting words in Tennessee. I don't know.
Could be,
they're
maybe.
serious about their country
Yeah,
down
that's
there.
true. Well, you're our geography expert, Jared, based on that one episode where we had to name the states based on where it was like you got $1 million for every state you named correctly, right?
Yeah. All right, dude. I'll play the song. I know you get really nervous about wasting tape.
Oh, so nervous. I'm shaking in my cowboy boots, Jared. I'm trying to work on my southern accent to prep for today's episode. It's been a tough one, Jared. I did eat some fried chicken to get in the spirit for today's episode.
I'm just living it.
Living the dream, Jared. Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here today to talk about the South of the United States. We have our field agent who is there. He's got his boots on the ground. He's been doing a lot of really hard work to find out what really makes the South tick. For me, as a Michigander, as a Yank, I think that's what they call us, right? I don't remember. As a Northerner, I'm very excited today to talk about the South and some stereotypes and misconceptions. Hoping to learn some new things about my Southern brethren and sisters. And as I said, through my diligent and very hardworking and inquisitive field agent down in Louisiana right now, doing some work. So without further ado, my co-host, my good field agent, what's going on, Jared? What's up, player?
How's it going?
Oh, that's great. Oh,
you know what's funny? I actually I don't have my soundboard today. I forgot my dongle for my iPhone in my mom's car, but I was able to do a little workaround. But it took a lot. Like it was just took a lot of work, so I didn't do all my drops. All I got were the theme songs in that drop. I'm like, there's no way I'm coming to this episode without that drop.
There we go.
What's up, players? My players and playettes.
What's up, player?
Since it's my only drop, I got to get used to it.
Oh, my God. That's great. Oh, so ridiculous.
I am here in the South with the family doing some field research. The field research is coming to you from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and then some in New Orleans as well. And then, some light research, I would say, on my journeys that you guys have heard about through Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, and Mississippi, and the other southern states I went through. I'm excited to talk about this. I'm very excited. Now, we talked about, can I just ask you real quick? We talked about, you say the South or the Deep South? What are we talking about here? And is there a difference between those two?
I think there is a difference between those two. And
Can
we
you
can
differentiate?
talk about all that today.
All right, let's do that later.
We got
We'll talk
lots
about
of
that
time,
later. Let's
Jared.
talk about
Lots
that
of time.
later. I would actually like to give a quick shout out. I would like to say
What's up, player?
to Oklahoma, actually, which I think is technically the South as well. Maybe not the Deep South, but the South. 1 year ago today, March 20th, Tiger King dropped. Fun fact. Shows you where we're at in this pandemic. I just thought that was fun. You could also, by the way, please, you could follow us on Instagram. I told you I deleted it off my phone. Chad doesn't give a shit about any of the social media or really anything, so he's not going to do it. But theoretically, you could say,
What's up, player?
To us on with a 5-star review on iTunes and Stitcher. We will always take those
What's up, player?
messages and we appreciate them very much. You can also follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. I guess sure, why not? Chad, I heard you have a van update. I want to hear about this van update.
I do. So I finally got my van back from the shop, back from the dealership, and the seats are gone, Jared. They're in the basement now.
I'm sure your parents love that.
Yep. So I've got the back all good to go. I put up my curtain rod for the curtain to partition the back from the front.
Okay.
And the
How did you
curtain
hang it up? What did you connect it to?
So it's one of those ones that you screw it and it gets longer.
Oh, like a standard shower curtain kind of situation.
Yep.
And then you just twist it to tighten it.
Exactly. And then what I did was I actually rest it. It's up there, but then the little hooks you have where you could like hang a hanger with like a jacket or something in a car. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you call those things, but it's like a little plastic hook basically. I have the shower curtain resting on those hooks. It fits perfectly.
Double supported.
Yep, and I like yanked on it a couple times and it did not move.
Pull-ups.
That's right, dude. If the shower curtain was actually metal and not plastic, well, I'm assuming it's plastic. Maybe. I actually saw a van lifer that had like they had a ladder that they attached to the outside of their van, and they could use that for pull-ups. That thing.
Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. That makes sense. So when is your do you have a plan for an initial journey at this point?
Traverse City, I think, is going to be the first stop.
No, you keep saying that, but I mean timing wise.
April.
Okay.
So in 2 weeks.
Oh really?
Hopefully.
You're gonna. Oh damn it! I was reaching for my drops to play On the Road again, but I don't have them. So you're in 2 weeks is when you plan to be on the road again.
I hope.
I can't wait to be on the road again.
Yeah, because I have the bed frame, I have the mattress, I have the pillow, I have the sleeping bag, I have a tarp that I'm going to use as like an awning. I got to get some legs for the awning. But yeah, it's a work in progress. Magnets, my man. It's a tarp you magnet to the roof of your van. You pull it out.
So you just keep it. So you keep it inside, and then you just magnet it to the car when you get to where you want to stop.
Roll it up. Yeah.
It's not like one of those ones that's permanently stuck to the outside.
Now, if I got one of those, they're about $300.
Yeah, I imagine those are pricier.
Yeah, which might be a worthy investment at some point, but for the time being, I'm going to try to MacGyver it. Exactly.
I gotcha.
So
what are some final things you have to make sure you do before you go?
I want to get the sunshade, like sun reflectors for the windows, because that will keep it cool when it's hotter and then warmer when it's cold out.
Some privacy as well, I imagine.
Yep. Privacy is always good. I need to grab a cooler, and I'm probably going to use the cooler as a makeshift seat as well for the time being. So maybe get like a little cushion that will fit the size of the cooler.
Don't you have one of those like sports game fold-out chairs?
Yeah, I'll probably put that in there too.
Yeah.
What I want to do though is I do want to build a shelf. There's already like an overhead compartment, but what I want to do is bring it out about 2 feet and then put probably 1 or 2 support beams below. And then if I do that, then I'll have a bunch of like storage space up top where I can put like some clothes, sleeping bag, some other stuff. And then the other thing I'm going to get as well is they make these little, it's like, I don't know how to describe it, Jared, but it just attaches to the back of your car, like to your headrest. And it has like a little fold out table, some storage compartments. It's just like, it like you can get some that are made out of leather. They have some mesh ones. I'm doing like a little, I don't know, milking a cow motion while I'm talking. I have no idea why. But yeah, so you just slide it over the headrest, and then you can like, you can put like a tablet up there on that table. I'm assuming the table looked big enough where you could like, eat like have like a little snack on there or something. So yeah, we'll see.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
Slowly but surely.
What are you going to do during the day while you're in Traverse City?
Hiking around.
There's good hiking spots in Traverse City?
Well, that's what I need to find out. I need to find out where.
So you just Traverse City is just some place in your head.
I want to go to Traverse City as well. The other reason why I want to go though, Jared, is to grab some wine. There's some really good wineries that I've
do you even
tried
drink
there. I haven't drank in a long time, but it'll be nice to have a couple bottles in case I do want a glass.
If you're
going to
be in the woods by yourself, you got to drink. What else are you going to do?
That's true.
Can I take you through? We're talking about the Deep South, the South. It's specifically the Deep South, but obviously through talking about the Deep South, we have to talk about the South in its entirety. I have a list here of the best cities in the world from 2020 by Condé Nast Traveler. You heard of them? Okay.
Nope.
Well, they're very popular.
Okay.
And I want to see if there are any southern cities on this list.
Ooh,
I also want
out.
to get your opinion on some of these cities. I haven't deeply looked at this list. Laguna Beach, California. That makes sense. The city is California's. This city in California's Orange County is known for riverfront parks and secluded beaches. That makes sense. Florence, Italy. By the way, this is from 20 down to 1. Have you been to Florence? Have you been to Italy before?
I've never been to Italy. It's on my list.
I mean, Florence is one of my. I've never been to Florence either. I've been to Italy, but I've been to Venice, Rome, and Turin, Torino. Never Florence, but I think Florence is my parents' favorite Italian city.
Back to Laguna Beach, though, Jared. It looks gorgeous.
Okay.
I just pulled it up on Google.
Well, keep up, because I'm 3 past that already.
All right, so you're on. What are you on now?
I'm on Florence. What do you mean, what am I on? I just said Florence, Italy. The next one is Porto, Portugal. I have been there, and it is amazing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's on the water, and it's just a gorgeous European city.
I have a feeling a lot of these places are on the water. Just a guess.
Victoria, Canada is in Vancouver, also on the water. Vancouver's a place I want to go to, for sure. Siena, Italy. Italy's got 2 already on this list.
Dang.
Tokyo, Japan.
Okay.
Ooh, I like this one. Salzburg, Austria. Österreich.
I do like that one. That's a nice surprise.
Not on the water, but it's in the mountains. Why is that surprising to you?
There is that nice river, though.
That's true. Do you call that on the water, though? Yeah, I feel like to say on the water, you need a more serious piece of water than a
big
river.
lake or an ocean.
Really, only a Michigander like us or like someone from Wisconsin or Minnesota would also count lakes.
That's true. That
I
is
feel
true.
like the coastal elite.
Hey,
would be
or
like
a big swamp. Big
Don't
old
forget about
swamp.
a good old bayou.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Valletta, Malta. I've never even heard of that city. Wien, Österreich, Vienna,
Yep.
Austria.
I'm surprised that's not higher up on the list.
Yeah, number 12. I mean, that seems like a sort of is stalwart the right word? Stalwart. What does that mean? Like a constant
stalwart? Yeah, I think so.
Like
it's consistent.
like a consistent, like high performer, loyal, reliable, hardworking. It's sort of like Vienna is like a consistently on these sort of best cities to live in.
It's definitely won some awards the last couple of years for being like one of the most livable cities in Europe. At least.
We've certainly talked about various like best cities to live in, and Vienna's been on those lists before.
And we can attest, it's pretty great to live there.
Yeah, for sure. Carmel by the Sea, also in California. Obviously Carmel by the Sea. It's interesting because
I've never heard of that place.
I haven't either, but at least the architecture that they show in the picture kind of makes it look like it's in like Spain or something, or Mexico. Probably was Mexico at one point. Sydney, Australia.
Oi.
I heard Melbourne. I heard Sydney's not really if you want to go to like one city in Australia as a tourist, Melbourne's not the place to go. Or excuse me, Sydney's not the place to go. Singapore, which apparently, Singapore is a city as well as a country, I guess. Mm-hmm. Santa Fe, New Mexico, that's a surpriser. Number 8. Charleston, South Carolina, look at that.
Okay.
The first southern state on this place on this list is number 7.
That's pretty good.
Our buddy, or my buddy, Brad, actually lives in Charleston, or close to Charleston, South Carolina. And I've heard a lot of good things, but I've never been there before.
Looks nice.
It does. It kind of has like a sort of like an old school look to it. Like it looks older than you'd expect for most American cities, which is actually something I enjoyed about New Orleans as well.
I'm getting some good vibes from these pictures, man. It's looking pretty good.
It's only like I believe it's like a 9-hour drive from Michigan.
Okay.
I think your van could make it.
I would hope so. After getting the service and everything else, I would hope so.
Wow, this is awesome. It's very colorful. Mm-hmm. It kind of wow. It kind of looks like it also kind of looks like maybe you're like in Cuba or something, walking down some of these streets.
Yeah, it looks
not that
nice.
I've ever been to Cuba, but all right.
Nice.
Brad keeps on telling me I need to go there. Maybe I need to actually go.
Maybe
Monte
you
Carlo,
do.
Monaco. That's not surprising.
Yeah.
Lyon, France. Kyoto, Japan.
Two from Japan on the list so far.
Yeah, which is I don't think that's surprising. Merida, Mexico. If it's M-E with the little accent over it, it would be I-D-A. It would be Merida, not Merida.
I think you're right.
Because you have to put that's where you put the emphasis.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think
Merida,
so.
Mexico. And then Chiang Mai, Thailand. I've heard a lot of good things about Chiang Mai. And then another Mexican city, San Miguel de Allende. So one southern state, which number 7, not bad actually. Okay, let me ask you this.
And no northern states on that list?
No,
or were there?
No. There were a bunch of West Coast. There was some New Mexico, I believe there was, and then a few Californias. Would you count South Carolina South or Deep South?
South. When I think of Deep South, I think of like basically like Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, and then Texas.
Mississippi. You missed
Texas
Mississippi.
and
I
Mississippi, yes.
Yeah.
Texas bridges that gap between like the South, the Deep South, and the Southwest.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Like it depends, and it's so big. There's so many different cultures. Like if you're on, you can, it could be Southwest if you're on the Arizona side, or it could be more Deep South, I guess, if you're more on this side, the side closer to Louisiana. But it's interesting. You didn't mention Florida, which is more south than all those states.
Correct. Florida's a weird one, though. I feel like Florida is its own thing, kind of like Texas. Really,
I agree with you 100%. I don't really. I really put it as its own thing. It's obviously like the South, and it certainly has South vibes. But I feel like just the culture of it is so different from everything.
It is.
And it's the same with Texas as well. I think Texas is starting to turn into a Florida man kind of state. Actually, they're starting to hear more and more weird stories coming out of that place.
You know what's really important though, Jared, regardless if you're going to the South or the Deep South.
What's that?
It's to understand what those people down there are saying. What's up, player?
That's true.
So I thought it would be fun to do some Southern untranslatables, and I've got a couple foreign untranslatables
so we can go back and forth with some Southern ones. Forget the foreign ones. Let's just do Southern ones. We're talking about the South, and I have
Southern
some too,
pride.
so we can go back and forth.
Or is that not? Are we not allowed to say that nowadays?
I mean, people still say it. You can say whatever you want. Listen, there's no such thing as allowed to or not allowed.
That's
to.
true.
You could
plus who's going to cancel us, Jared? Nobody listens anyways, right? So it's
exactly.
All good.
That's we can get way worse than that, and there will be no consequences.
That's true. Well, the first Southern term, Jared, that I think goes without saying is y'all.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
You can't mention the South without y'all. And the funny thing though is I say it as well. And I'm not a Southerner. I've never lived in the South. I like it. It's easy to say. You all saves me some time. Think of those.
It's more inclusive.
Yeah.
I have a nasty habit, and whenever I say it, I kind of
you guys.
Yes.
Yep.
And
folks is another good term, Jared. That's another good gender.
It's so crazy that the Southerners really, because that's another Southern phrase. The Southerners really have the market cornered on gender neutral phrases,
right?
Greetings, which you would not expect.
Right.
But the thing is, I don't feel y'all doesn't feel right coming out of my mouth.
You feel like a poser?
I do feel like a poser. It feels like forced, like it doesn't feel natural to me. It feels like I'm making a point to say it. You don't
accidentally slip a couple out if you stay in Louisiana for too long?
I wish I did, but see, I've never, like my mom, you can sort of hear her Southern accent come out more, especially now that she's been living here for a while. Not really my dad, but I've never had that much of an immersion into it where it's had that much of an effect on how I talk. I think, actually, when I was a kid, my Southern family used to always ask me, why do I talk so proper?
That is
would be the exact
hilarious.
word they would use is talk proper. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking
You
about.
do talk pretty proper, Jared.
Do I talk proper?
You do talk pretty proper.
Okay. And I like I don't, but the thing is, it's like I don't know how to answer that question. Why do I
Right.
talk proper? I don't know because I'm not from here.
That's when you got to just try to put on the thickest fake Southern accent you can. Be like,
Yeah.
what do you mean I talk
Yeah.
proper?
Boy, that's the only word I can say. Well, here I got one for you. I got yours wasn't really an untranslatable. That was just a common phrase that we say down here. I have an untranslatable. He squeezes the quarter so tight the eagle screams.
Oh, that's to be incredibly frugal.
Yeah, but that's such a
I
great
like that, though.
saying. I'll say this. I think the South has some of the best untranslatables in the United States.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
actually-
just love
maybe the world. I'm going to be honest with you.
Ooh, that's a bold statement. We've covered a lot of untranslatables, Jared.
But I think so, I'm not going to say the world. That's ridiculous. But I think there's
something cool about Southern untranslatables. They
I
have
feel like
a
they
charm
have the
to
most
them.
creativity to them,
Okay.
and I feel like they're almost poetic. You know.
Well, Jared, I don't know if you're going to agree with this one then in terms of poetic, because let me just give it to you, and we can see how what your thoughts are. We're living in high cotton.
I'm very familiar with that one, and it just means to be wealthy. Do you know where that comes from?
Slavery, right? I'm assuming, right?
Of course, I just didn't want to say it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty obvious. That's pretty obvious.
right. Because if you
I've
got
actually-
lots of cotton, you're selling it, you're making lots of money,
My
right?
family uses that. I've heard that untranslatable before.
That's because you're a
and,
baller, Jared. You're living in that high cotton, man.
Oh yeah, people always say it to me. That's why. See, now I'm concerned that we have the same list. So we're just gonna go back and forth. Just keep
That's
giving
all
me
right.
more.
Give
All right,
me
fine,
another
fine.
one.
I could eat the north end of a southbound polecat.
I do not know what that means whatsoever.
You could also say I could eat the north end of a southbound goat. I think.
So it's just you're starving.
Yeah.
I could eat a horse.
How amazing of an untranslatable is that? I don't even understand.
What is it again? Can you say it again?
I could eat the north end of a southbound polecat.
Polecat?
Pole, I think it's an animal, some sort of cat.
Okay.
But what does it mean to eat the
Polecat.
north end of a southbound animal?
Does that mean you eat its butt?
I can't tell.
Is
Dude,
this a,
when
is
I
this
looked
a
at
southern ass eating reference?
girl. Yeah, is that how Southerners flirt?
What, dude? A polecat is a ferret,
Oh, okay.
or it's a mucilid. Is that a thing? Mustelid. Okay. Polecat is a common name. Polecat is a common name for mammals. But when I Googled it, a ferret popped up.
Yeah, it looks like a little rodent animal,
A
like
weasel.
a rodent ferret
Yeah.
animal. Yeah.
But yeah, so you'd eat anything. You'd eat a weasel's butt, essentially, I think is what this means if we were to translate
The
it.
north end of a southbound. But if it's going
Or wait.
southbound, the north end is still its head, isn't it?
No, if it's going south, wouldn't its head be facing the way it's going?
Oh, I see. So if you're saying the north end, if it's going south, the north end would be behind it.
Yes.
Okay,
I
so
think.
you're saying I'd eat a polecat's butt.
I think so.
I prefer
think that's what that
the way
means.
you think of it as a term for flirting. I would eat the north end of that southbound polecat. See, if you
geez.
just slightly change to the way you say it, it can get a whole lot dirtier.
Talk
Ooh-wee.
about
I can eat the
catcalling
north end
to
of that
another
stuff.
level. Oh, jeez. Oh, dear Lord.
Damn, girl, I can eat
That's-
the north end of that southbound polecat.
Oh, man. I don't even know how someone would react to that because it's like, what did you just?
Depends
That's how
on where
they'd
you say
react.
it. See, if I say it down here, I might catch myself a wife. If I say it up north,
a wife.
I might catch myself a 2-piece to the face. You know,
That's
they
true.
might be
That's
like, "What
true.
did you just say to me?"
Might be catching some hands.
All right, give me another Southern untranslatable.
Okay, let's see here. I got a bunch of them. Well, here, Jared, this is a good one that. I mean, I have some relatives who are from the South, and I've heard my aunt say this before.
Where in the South?
South Carolina.
Okay, so not the deep south.
Not the deep south, but the south. And I think I don't know if there's actually an agreement on what is the quote unquote deep south and what is just the south. But anyway,
I would say I would agree with your assessment of it. I would 100% agree with like the Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia.
right, like as far south as it basically goes. Except
Yeah.
Florida is that weird outlier. Florida is like that weird cousin or uncle that's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
But I'd say they certainly have more deep south vibes than other cultures, but they certainly have their own thing. But I think it is still deep south vibes. They just have their own level of bath salts added into it.
That's right. Well, Jared, let me give you this phrase that I hear my aunt say all the time. Bless your heart.
Yes.
How would you translate that though, Jared? What does that phrase mean? Bless your heart.
It's very all encompassing.
Okay.
It could be positive. It could also be like there's nothing I can do for you, or it's like good luck, but like sarcastically.
Right. Or can't it also be kind of like a
or
thank
ironically,
you?
I should say. Sure, yeah, like if you're very thankful, yes.
Right. Right. Like
yes.
you bring me my sweet tea and I say, "Oh, bless your heart, Jared."
Or like if my grandma lost her purse and she thought she lost her purse and I happened to find it and she's like, "Oh, bless your heart." Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Or it could be used like when your dad saw your longer hair and be like, "Oh, bless his heart. He needs to get a haircut.
He's lost
Bless
his way
heart."
in this world.
Right. Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
it's a pity. It could also be used as pity for sure.
That's
My
funny.
last one, I'm sure it seems like you have a bunch, but this is the last one I just have in front of me. This one I love, and I don't know if I've heard this one or not, but I love it. My eyeballs are floating.
Does that mean you're drunk? I have no idea.
No,
what
but
that
I guess that's a good guess. That does make sense, but no, that's
My
not what it
eyeballs are
means.
floating. Mm-hmm. I have no idea.
Think about it. If you're so filled up with liquid that your eyeballs are floating,
You've drank too much. You're full.
what does that result in? If you drank too much, eventually, what's going to need to happen?
You need to go to the bathroom.
There you go.
Is that what that means?
You really have to pee.
Okay.
So
You gotta
essentially,
pee
there's so
like
much
a
liquid in you
racehorse.
that it's all the way up to your eyes, and it's pushing your eyes up.
And that's when you know you got to go. Okay.
Boy, my eyeballs are floating.
Oh man, that's great.
Bless his heart.
Here, can you tell me what this one means, Jared? And have you heard this one before? If the creek don't rise.
Oh yeah. Is that like when pigs fly?
I'm asking you. I mean, I have the little blurb here. Here it's, but no, it means if the creek don't rise, it's
If the creek don't rise.
I'll see you then if the creek don't rise.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that one before. I feel like I have, but I can't. Is that just means like God willing, essentially?
Yeah, I think so. We'll be there unless something out
Like
of
it's-
our control
right.
stops
I
us.
gotcha.
So yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah.
That's
I
the
would
thing,
say
though.
so.
Here in Louisiana, the creek rising is a pretty common occurrence.
Right, right.
It floods almost every year here. It's somewhere. So the creek is always rising at an alarming rate, actually. Do you
So
have any
maybe
more
that's
you
not the
like-
best phrase. Oh yeah,
Okay.
It don't amount to a hill of beans.
By the way, let's remember, we want to leave them wanting more, so you don't have to go through every single untranslatable on this list. Oh, what was it again? Something about a hill of beans?
It don't amount to hill of beans.
Oh, it's just like it's worth nothing.
Yep.
It's not even worth a bunch of beans.
Exactly.
I've never heard that one before. That for some reason that sounds like one that they say across town, if you know what I mean, which you don't.
Maybe. All right, Jared. I think for now we can move on and just talk more about
but
the South.
I'll say
in
this:
general.
I feel like you'd still prove my point that there is something almost poetic about Southern untranslatables.
All right, here. Let me give you one bonus
Okay,
one. One
please.
bonus one because this is a good one right here. Busy as a cat on a hot tin roof. As busy as a cat on a hot tin roof.
I don't even understand why, but I mean, obviously it means to be very busy, but I don't understand why is the cat's just busy trying to get off of this hot tin roof?
Probably.
But I still feel like it's just I like the creativity of these Southern untranslatables.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
good.
so you would like to talk specifically about stereotypes and perceptions of the Deep South. So we went over the fact that the Deep South are those states that are really like the swamp states at the very bottom on the East Coast, on the east side of the U.S. at the very bottom of the United States, excluding Florida because we don't know what's happening. Yeah. We don't know what's in the water there.
Right.
We can't fully
They don't even know what's
happening there.
Exactly.
And so so we know that there's obviously then the South is sort of the South would be like Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, North Carolina, Oklahoma,
Arkansas.
Texas. We already talked about it's a little different. Texas a little different. Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And then I guess that's it. That's all of them. I guess.
Mm-hmm. Did you say Alabama?
That's Deep South.
Oh, right. Gotcha.
What to you separates culturally? I guess is separating the South from the Deep South.
I think the food. I think in the Deep South, like especially in the more bayou areas, I think the food they eat there is a little bit different, right? You have more crayfish or crawfish, depending on who you ask.
I guess there's probably
more seafood in general.
That's true.
Right. More fish.
I also think, at least in that's food. I mean, food's a common one. I thought about food differences, obviously, between like the North and the South. But yeah, I guess you're right. There are a lot of like there's a lot more fish being eaten, probably, especially in Louisiana. I would also say, Louisiana is such an interesting one too, because I feel like the French influence is still very strongly noticeable here. Mm-hmm. Like even just from things like street names and stuff like that. But I feel like you can see it sort of in the, I don't know if I think you can see it in the cuisine. And I just feel like there is like that is part of it too. Is just there's more. I think there's more influence in the culture other than just like Americanism. Like there's the Cajun, there's the Creole, which are both sort of like offshoots of like Haitian or French. Like there's just, I think there's just a more a different.
Speaking of food and French influence on some places in the South, Jared, I want to ask you about a couple foods here and if you've tried them before. Mm-hmm. As I said, I'm excited to learn some more about the South this episode. Have you ever had cochon de lait?
I'm shocked at the first one you said. I've literally never heard of. I mean, lait is milk.
I'm pretty sure it's cochon de lait. It's
I understand,
an event where a suckling pig is roasted over a blistering hickory fire until the inside is tender and juicy, and the outside brittle as well-cooked bacon.
I have never heard of this.
It's spelled Cochon.
Yeah, I see it. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
This looks like it's just like pig, like you're at a luau or something.
Right.
I have never seen this before. This is a Southern thing. By the way, it looks delicious. It is. It says Louisiana specific.
See, there we go.
I'm going to have to ask my family about this one.
You will. I expect an update for the next episode, or at least, if not the next one, the following.
What I'm seeing is it's just a fully cooked pig. Like it's the full thing.
I mean, they have boars down south, don't they?
Sure, yeah. So they certainly have pigs down here.
Wild pig, boy.
Yeah, pigs are everywhere.
Okay. Have you ever had grillades?
What the hell is happening? Grillades.
This is grillades.
I'm surprised that I've never heard of grillades. And grits, apparently. They
Good. I'm
grits.
2 for 2 so far this episode.
Can you explain to me what grillades is?
Yes, grillades. Beef or veal round steak, browned then simmered until tender in brown tomato sauce, served over rice or grits.
Yeah, interesting. So, yeah. I'm surprised. It's also interesting that the two things you've said so far have no seafood in them.
That's true.
I'll say this: since I've been here, I have already have grit. I have already had grits.
What are grits for those? To explain to those out there who have never had the opportunity of having grits.
Grits are are porridge made from boiled cornmeal, is what it is. And there's actually a very hot debate in the black community. Do you know anything about grits? Have you ever had grits? Are grits
I've
part
had
of your
them
life?
once or twice.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not going to know anything about this, and I know you're I don't need to, but there's a hot debate. It's like I don't need to insult you on your knowledge of the black community or lack thereof. There's a hot debate on sugar or
I heard about
grits.
this. Yeah,
And
I feel like it's salt, right?
I'm team salt, and I agree with you. It is salt, but I think. Well, I was gonna say salt. I think salt is also more of a southern thing because at least at least I know here in Louisiana, grits like grits is a more of a dinner item than it is a breakfast item. So there's like shrimp and grits is a very popular meal. Like the grillade you just mentioned is served with grits. These are all savory dishes. Like you're not serving shrimp or like pork,
have some sweet
or beef.
Shrimp,
I mean,
boy.
with sugary grits. Like these are it's a savory thing, and so I think but if people eat it for breakfast, more for breakfast, I think those people are more likely to say sugar. Granted, I've eaten grits for breakfast and dinner, and you will never catch me putting sugar into my grits. Just to be clear, I'm a Louisiana man, and I am a proud butter and salt grit eater, and
there we go.
And if I said anything else, I would not be allowed in this household. I honestly don't think I've ever had sugar in my grits. The idea of it doesn't even make sense to me, to be honest with you.
Right. I don't really get that one either. All right, Jared, I'm going to let you off the hook because I know you've had these dishes before. Gumbo
is a staple in the in Louisiana. And gumbo is I guess it's like a hearty soup, you'd call it. And usually what you'll find in it is, there's a lot of variations, but usually you'll find shrimp. You'll find I believe it's called an andouille sausage, which is a Southern style sausage.
Andouille sausage is great.
Sometimes you'll find crab legs in there. Sometimes you'll also find... you'll usually find okra, and then which is a popular Southern vegetable, and then various other vegetables in there. And it's through this thing called the roux, which is like this flour sort of paste thing that you heat up. You thicken it, and then that is served over rice. And gumbo is also a very gumbo is one of those dishes where everyone has their own recipe. And everyone knows like the person that makes the best gumbo, but but there's no level of agreement.
So who's in your opinion, your top gumbo go-to?
Well, listen, I'm
not trying to start family feuds or anything.
You're not going to start family feuds. The answer is my dad, but he's probably the best cook in my family. Period. But my gumbo experience is so limited because I'm a northerner that has spent a lot of time sort of peeking into the lifestyle of these Southerners, but I haven't really been fully immersed, I haven't grown up in it or anything. So I think I would confidently say my dad, and I'd probably stand by that even if I've had other ones because he is a very good chef. But it's also been, I've heard other people say that too. I'm not just saying this myself.
What's the secret sauce to making good gumbo?
Listen, if I told you that, I'd have to kill you. So
okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Ask me another.
Moving on, another Southern staple, Jared, jambalaya.
Oh yeah. Jambalaya is like a rice dish, or it's rice that you also put in it's like mixed in with like a tomato sort of paste. Not paste, but like a tomato dish. But it's not like liquidy. It's the consistency of like a dry-ish rice. It's not dry.
Would you rather go for? I know these are very different dishes, but would you rather go for jambalaya or gumbo?
I'd probably go for gumbo.
Okay.
I like because I like the rice. I like the plain rice with the sauce. I don't know. I like the soup nature of the gumbo more. Still with the rice, I think. Also, I feel like I've had a lot more gumbo than I have had jambalaya. Not that my family has anything against it. It's just I don't see jambalaya in my family that often. I'm very familiar with it, but it's just not something that we do all the time.
Gotcha. Okay.
I have another one for you that I imagine's on that list. Shrimp Creole is another one.
Oh yeah. What exactly is that though?
That one I'm actually a little less sure about. I'm not a huge fan, but my family loves it. but I'm not a huge fan of shrimp Creole. All I do know is that it's just like it's like a, if it's like a. I'm not gonna say it's a little slightly. It's like a shrimp soupy dish though. Like essentially,
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it, but it is sort of like a. I can't call it a soup, but it is almost like a soupy consistency, and it's just shrimp with vegetables mixed in.
Okay. What about?
Hold on. I don't want to go. I don't want to just talk about all these foods though. I want to talk about what makes the South different. And so these are all foods that they have in the South that we don't have in the North. But I think what really sticks out about Southern food is that here are a few things that come to my mind when I think of Southern food. I think of spicy. I think of very spicy.
Okay.
I think they can handle extreme levels of spice with ease. I also think of, as you mentioned, seafood. I also think of fried.
Oh yeah,
A high level of things being fried. Fried catfish is very popular down here. Fried shrimp is very popular. We have something called po' boys, which are very popular in Louisiana, which is a sandwich that usually involves either fried oysters, shrimp, or catfish in a big sandwich with like a big fluffy French bread. What else do I think of? I think those are the three main ones I think of. Spicy. Go ahead.
You know what else I think of, and it's only because we've talked about it on the podcast. Is this still a thing in Louisiana? Drive-through liquor store where you can get your drive-through daiquiris. Is this still a thing?
Oh, 100%. I was actually thinking I want to do that today after this afternoon.
I'm surprised you didn't have one in your hand ready to go for the podcast.
Well, it's we started at 2 in the afternoon. To be fair, I
is a
do
Saturday,
have
though.
some level of restraint, I guess. But yeah, it is. I was going to go. So I did go to New Orleans, and I was in New Orleans all week last week. Actually, I just got back yesterday. And I was going to go, but the problem is I wasn't going to go to a drive-through one. There are a bunch of them around that you can just walk into, but most of them are sort of concentrated to like the sort of where the partyish sort of stuff is. And I started walking in that direction, and there were so many people over there. It just made me very uncomfortable. And I was like, I don't need it that bad. So I didn't do that. But yeah, they do have the drive-through liquor stores. And it's very weird that the way they justify it is just that, like, we give you the styrofoam cup with the top on, and it's technically not open if you don't put the straw into it. So that's the rule.
Loopholes, baby.
But yeah, you can get like a 32-ounce daiquiri to go, and they just hand it to you in your car and say, all right, drive away now. Okay, so I think I definitely recognize these different. When I was younger, I honestly felt like I was a foreigner coming down here, and
the South is a different world. I feel
they kind of treated me like it too. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I told you they
you talk so proper.
They found the way I talked to be very confusing, and I think they thought like I was some like smart guy. And I'm like, I don't think I'm as smart as you think I am.
I just talk differently.
Have this, this northern accent,
right?
Which to me,
dude, if you would have had a British accent, get out of here.
I feel like it was sort of like it was a similar feeling to like being an American and hearing a British accent and just assuming that they're smart.
Right.
I certainly felt a little bit of that being in the South as a northerner. Here's another. Stereotype or perception of the South, and we actually can prove or disprove this. I have a way to do this.
Okay,
a popular one, and I think the South gets this, but I think it goes to the max. I feel like the South has a lot of stereotypes, but then a lot of especially a lot of negative ones. But then I feel like the Deep South just like heightens a lot of these. Like it's even worse. One of them being education.
Yeah,
I feel like in general, there's this stereotype that the South is the most uneducated part of the world and that they don't know anything and that they're dumb. But I'd say that when it comes to the Deep South, it's taken to the next level. Mm-hmm. I think that the Deep South is expected to be like the dumbest part of the United States. Would you agree with that? At least that's people say that.
That's the perception, for sure.
I, here, Chad, have the U.S. News education rankings.
I know quite a few southern states are towards the bottom. I think Mississippi or Alabama is 50, right?
Let's see what we'll start from 50 and work our way up to see if this is true, that the Deep South is the most uneducated part of the world. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that? By the way, your hypothesis? What do you think you're gonna?
Well, it's a broad statement. It's hard to say. I would say
I'm
that
just setting you up for a cancellation here, for sure.
Right. Oh, for sure. The perception, I would say, with a lot of people is that the stereotype is you're kind of hillbilly, redneck, dumb Southerners.
I think there is some validity to that, because I think in the United States generally, we've talked about how afraid we are to discuss the true history of our United States and the true origin of race relations and how that formed and what the impact that had on society. And I think that when you're in these southern states, that's going to be amplified, because we're not only talking about U.S. history. Now it's getting even more personal, because this is happening, right down the street from where you live or whatever.
But there is a point I want to make before we discuss which states are better or worse in terms of educational ranking. I do think that, the things I've seen, at least on TV, about Southerners and stuff like that, it seems like maybe they may not necessarily rank the highest on the education scales, but there is something I think about, like Southern ingenuity. Like, you see, there was a show hilarious. I used to watch called Swamp People on the History Channel, where they were in the bayou, and it was just amazing to see how resourceful these alligator hunters were. And how smart they were. But they had what we would probably call a lot of street smarts, which I do think is very different than book smarts.
I'll say this. My mom, my mom's side of the family is very big. She has 7. She had, not all of them are living, but her family, was made up originally of 7 brothers and two sisters, not including herself. So 10 kids in her family. And so we have an extensive cousin list that I don't even really fully know all of them as well as I should. But my speaking of that Southern ingenuity, my parents have, no matter what, granted, my cousins are at my house right now doing yard work in our backyard. No matter what has gone wrong, or no matter what needs to be fixed, whether it be a car, whether it be yard work, whether it be plumbing, whether it be any sort of thing that needs to be fixed, my mom knows who to call, and they can do it and it'll be done within like the day for very cheap. My grandma's yard flooded a couple months ago, and some of my family members, I honestly don't even know which ones, fixed it for less than half the insurance deductible in a matter of like a day or two.
Nice.
And so I agree with you. I think there's certainly something for like the get shit done part of it. When we talk about education, that is a little elitist, I guess you could say, because it's like, what do you consider smart? Is it just these grades you get, or how well your kids score on the SAT?
And grades aren't everything. You can make a lot of great impacts in the world and on life, even if you don't have great grades or do great at school.
That's true.
But anyways, let's get into this list, though, because I'm curious. Yeah. So now let's look at this list and shit on some Southerners. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying. I'm not even saying that's going to happen. That's your assumption.
It is my assumption. We'll see if it's true.
That's going to happen. I'm trying to see what year this is, but I can't even tell. But it is recent, so it is certainly within the last year or two, for sure. Anyway, number 50 is New Mexico.
Okay.
Not the Deep South at all. Number 49 is Alaska, not the Deep South at all.
No.
Now, granted, I'll say New Mexico the year before. Excuse me. Okay. So what I'm looking at is specifically going to be pre-K to like the grade school. There's also higher education as well, but I'm going to specifically look at grade school. We can do higher education too, actually, after if you want. Okay. Number 48. This is once again grade school, K through 12. I wish I had my soundboard. I could use a good wah-wah for this one. Louisiana.
Uh-oh. Wah, wah.
Another wah-wah is in order because 47, Alabama. 46 is Arizona. 45 is West Virginia. 44, South
Mississippi.
Carolina.
Okay.
Which is not the Deep South, according to, I guess, us.
your geography
43.
experts at the Untranslatable podcast.
43.
What's 43?
And then, the irony when I see 43 is that the flag in itself shows you just how uneducated these people are in this state. Can you
So
guess
it's
what state it
Mississippi.
is? Yeah.
Mississippi. Woo, Mississippi!
And I say that for those of you that don't know, Mississippi, they just changed it, but up until literally like less than a year ago, Mississippi's state flag had a
Confederate flag on there.
Had a Confederate flag in it. Yeah, the old stars and bars was part of their state flag. Oklahoma 42, Arkansas 41, so south. Nevada, Rhode Island, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Kentucky.
Oh, we're pretty. Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know
Michigan's
Michigan
not
was pretty
great.
low
Michigan's
on that
not
list.
great. But
What's
I'll say
number
this: Georgia is 26, so that's pretty
Okay,
good.
that's pretty good.
That's about
What's-
That's about halfway.
Give me number one, Jared.
Number one is New Jersey.
Really? Mm-hmm. New
And then-
Jersey.
Really? Let me give you a proper shocker. I don't think New Jersey is a proper shocker. I don't think Massachusetts at number 2 is a big shocker.
Okay.
Number 3 will shock you
What's number
right
3?
after this. No, I'm kidding.
Dude. Put a commercial
Dollar
on.
Shave Club. Florida.
Really?
Yeah, that's a proper
No
upset right there.
way.
And I'll give you
Wow.
one even crazier than that.
Okay.
Florida for higher education. Number one.
Really? Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. What are we doing in Michigan, bro? Really?
I don't know.
Florida?
I don't know what the hell is going on in Florida. But that's the thing. That's the thing. We have to remember we have to remember book smarts and street smarts, or like your ability to comport yourself on the streets, two completely different things.
True.
Although, let's look at higher education. Oh, excuse me. I just realized what I did actually was the overall rank. So actually, Louisiana is actually 46 for K through 12, but and then they're 48 for higher education and 48 overall. So originally what I told you was overall, not just and then you could split it up by higher education.
Okay.
But still, Florida is still number 3 and then number 1 for higher education. That is still not changed. And then I guess and then higher education is a little less surprising. Oh, let's start. Actually, we're trying to see the worst.
What are they doing down in Florida, man?
I don't know. I mean, they do have a lot of schools there. Louisiana is still number 48 for higher education. But as far as higher education goes, Alabama's 39, Mississippi's 37. So it's not as bad. It's not as bad. But I would say generally the stereotype is true. I'm going to be honest with you.
So quick question.
Or the perception
for you
is
here.
true.
Quick question. So we did talk about the whole drive-through daiquiri thing, or what have you. So because New Orleans doesn't have any open
I'll say
container
this, by the way.
laws,
I've been to Colorado, and they also have drive-through.
Do they
booze
really?
places? Yeah.
Okay.
It's not just a South thing.
All right. Well, it looks like I need to go to Colorado and to New Orleans.
It's not as common though. I have family that lives in Colorado, and I certainly have seen and maybe been to at least one drive-through liquor store in Colorado as well.
Right. Okay. But so can you actually like drink while you're like walking down the street in New Orleans? Is that okay, or are you looked at kind of like a lush? How does that work down there?
Ooh, a lush. That's a good word. That sounds like what is that? What does that mean?
A lush
like
is like
a
someone
alcoholic?
who like yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Like a drunkard.
You know why
Another
I
good
love
word.
that word? Because I recently watched Bridgerton, and it sounds like something they'd use in Bridgerton. You know the term that they used for like a someone that sleeps around a lot is a rake. That's what you call someone that. He's such
Like
a
a
rake.
garden tool.
Is someone? Oh, I guess you just raking up the ladies or something like
guess,
that.
maybe.
But that was a suit. That was the phrase that they used for like a whore or a slut or something
That's
like
funny.
that.
A rake.
You rake.
You garden tool.
So I don't know New Orleans alcohol consumption rules. I do know that there is. My guess now. Let me say this. You can definitely drink in public, 100%. But I don't think that. I think there might be an area of New Orleans where that's specifically allowed, and I think that area. it might be more contained to like what you might think of as like the party-ish, bourbon streety kind of area. Like my parents have a place in New Orleans, but it's sort of out, not in like the suburbs, but it's not like you're not going to see people like partying, or you're not going to see tourists really walking around in this area. And I would be less confident to walk down the street drinking booze there. Granted, I will say I have walked through like the sort of party area of New Orleans drinking alcohol before for sure, and seen plenty of people do it.
Okay. So here, Jared, this might be kind of fun.
I think it's just the French Quarter. That's what it is.
It is. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here, this is kind of a cool article. It's by thetravel.com. 5 stereotypes about the South that are completely false and 5 that are kind of true. Now, what I'm going to do to make this a bit more exciting, Jared, is I'm not going to tell you which ones are the false ones or the true ones, and you got to tell me if you think this is true or false. Okay, first one I'm going to give you. True or false, Jared? Southerners, their accents are super heavy.
I'm going to say that they say that's false.
Okay, and what do you say? What's your Jared ranking?
I'm going to say that not everyone is super strong, but I would say that on a whole, you can, especially here in Louisiana, and the Deep South specifically, and not just Louisiana. That's my experience is Louisiana. There is a noticeable accent. Now, it might not be, everyone might not be going, hey, what's up, y'all? Let's go get some jambalaya and some, I don't know. I can't even think of another word. And some gumbo. We're going out on a fish fry. Like, it's not all just that ridiculousness.
Right.
But I would certainly say that on a whole, you're not going to come across someone from the Deep South where you don't know that they're a Southerner. And now I would say Tennessee, Kentucky, South, more north, south, southern states. I would say their Southern accents are it's a different. Specifically, not only is it specifically different, like you can sort of hear the difference, but it's also a little less aggressive and a little less pervasive as well.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah,
so
they did say that was
we're
false.
talking about the Deep South. I'm going to disagree with the false. I'm going to say that you can almost always tell.
Okay. I would also argue if you are in more rural areas, smaller towns, you'll probably hear more of a thick accent, would be my guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Same
true
with
or false,
anywhere,
Jared?
though.
Everyone in the South says y'all a lot. True
That's
or false?
true. That's true.
Yep, and they say true. And I would probably agree with that. And I've not
that's a standard. It's a standard, very standard word here.
True or false, Jared? Everyone in the South uses. Well, I think the fact that they're saying everyone is just
nothing.
bad.
That's never true.
How about this, Jared? The majority of people in the South have antiquated gender roles. What do you think? True or false?
I'm going to agree with that.
Okay.
They
say here that's false.
Of course they do, because it's kind of offensive.
That's fair.
It's kind of offensive to say that.
Right.
Why
is that offensive, though? Just because it goes against the
because you're just
modern
saying,
narrative?
because at this point you're kind of just saying that they're kind of just like old school, and they're not really up to date with like what modern society is doing, essentially.
Right.
But I'm going to disagree with that, and here's why. Because one, the South, and especially the Deep South, religion is a lot more pervasive, and the South in general is a lot more religious on a whole. And so the chances of finding someone that will call themselves atheist or not Christian is going to be a lot less here than it would be in Baton Rouge than it would be in Detroit, for example.
Right. That's true.
And that, I think, is 100% true. And I think with that comes a lot of more conservative values. And this is not just white people. Like there's this idea that, it's like black people, I think, are more conservative than people think. It's just they don't show it in their politics because modern day republicanism does not represent black people, But I think if there were more conservative options that actually did somehow represent black people, I think that you would find that black people are more conservative than you might think. So I only say that to say that in general, I would say on a whole, it's safe to say that when I say that the South and the Deep South specifically is more conservative, and I think with the conservativism comes these more these more old school gender roles and expectations.
Right. Watch out, Jared. You're going to get the black liberals to come cancel us.
I think they'd agree with me. I'm not concerned about that.
I agree with you, too. All right, Jared. True or false? Southern people can't drive in the snow.
Yeah, but that's because I hate that. That's because they never have any reason to.
Right. Well, yeah, they're just not
of course
experienced
they
with
can't.
It. Right.
And so
Right.
it's like you see these people. It's fun. We've talked about how it's fun to make fun of them when we see them slipping and sliding as Northerners.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, well, why should they know how to do this, and why should they
Right.
be experts at it? Also, they don't have the tires for it.
Right. They don't have the equipment.
I'll
they
say
don't
this,
have the
speaking
experience.
of just tires in general, I've noticed that people in the South or in like places where it don't snow do have way less concern for tire wear. So I feel like here up north, out of necessity, we're less likely to go with just a straight up bald tire.
Right.
But I think you see a lot more of that in the South because you can go a lot longer without it being a big problem. I mean, it's a problem, but without
Right.
being without it being an obvious problem.
Makes sense.
And so it's like, yeah, they have no reason to be able to do it. But I think that, I listened to a podcast and they're based in North Carolina, and they always talk, not always, but they've talked about how, Southerners or Northerners always make fun of Southerners for being able to, not being able to drive in the snow. And they're like, really, why you guys do? Like, it's like, it is dangerous. Like, just because you guys can do it, like, doesn't mean it's not dangerous. They're like,
Right.
really, you guys shouldn't be doing it as much as you should, and just sucking it up and putting up with such terrible conditions, which is true. I mean, like, driving in the snow really is just like a crapshoot of whether you're going to make it home in one piece or not.
True. Very true.
Like, really, the fact that I understand that we have to do it, but, like, for example, even in places like Europe, they have a lot stricter rules on, like, making sure you have the proper tires and stuff like that. Here, it's just like, go for it.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd say
is
they
America,
are
Jared.
they are bad at it,
Freedom.
but I think maybe rather than us making fun of them, we might need to reconsider our
practices.
How
Sure.
often we require ourselves to drive in the snow.
That's a good point. All right, Jared, let me give you two food-related ones. True or false? The majority of Southern food is fried, covered in gravy.
I'm going to disagree with the gravy part, but I'm going to agree with the fried part for sure.
Okay.
I don't think there's an overly big usage of gravy going on.
Right. And there is a lot of fried food. I mean, you said, fried catfish, hush puppies.
Yep, fried shrimp.
fried chicken,
Po' boys
fried
are
shrimp.
very popular sandwich, which is using some sort of fried seafood. I will say, I don't think fried chicken is not a Louisiana staple. That's
Okay.
a big thing to say. Not to say that, and when I say that, that doesn't mean that they don't eat fried chicken down here. That doesn't mean you can't find amazing fried chicken down here. But I don't know if fried chicken is something that, especially Louisiana, would really claim as sort of their food, because I think
Right.
they
Their
are so
cuisine
seafood
is more
focused
the
down here.
seafood. Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
fried catfish, honestly, is more common to me than fried chicken in Louisiana.
Right. That makes sense. True or false, Jared? Sweet tea is a big deal.
Yes, it is.
Very
Sweet tea
true.
is a huge deal.
I've only had sweet tea once or twice, actually.
It's a thing here, and they take their teas seriously. Also,
Is it
lemonade
usually served
too.
with lemon? Sweet tea?
Yeah.
Okay. I love me some lemons.
I actually bought one when I was in New Orleans. It was great.
Nice. All right. True or false, Jared? Southern hospitality is a real thing.
Yes, I would say.
What is it?
On a whole, I would agree with that 100%. I think Southerners, and I honestly think the deeper you go, the more polite they get. And I
Until
think
you hit
that
the ocean and then there's no more people.
I think there are a few things that I've noticed. Yeah, there are a few things I noticed, aspects about the politeness that I wrote down. One that is honestly annoying to me is that
Sir and ma'am.
yes, that's not the one I was gonna say. That's annoying to
okay.
me. Just to be
Darn.
clear.
I thought I read your mind
Honestly,
for a second there.
I don't hear much sirs. I do. You hear definitely ma'am though.
Sir?
The ma'am is serious. But I think just in general, the South takes respect for elders a lot more seriously.
Right.
And I think that you can really see it, and I think some of that has to do with religion. But
I
maybe
wonder
it's
if it's the elders, Jared, and the Ladies.
Well, but there you go, back to the gender roles. Right. I think there is more chivalry and stuff like that, and just like sort of this old school idea of what it means to treat a lady right.
Treat a lady.
Some of that stuff still applies, but in
the North, it's a free for all, baby.
So speaking of politeness, you need to stop listening to Bill Burr. People are certainly open to more conversations with strangers. There's more like howdies, not literally howdy.
Not howdy, that'd be out west, wouldn't it?
But not literally howdy, but there's more like hellos in the streets. There's more likelihood to have a random conversation struck up with you, and definitely down here. Another one is. Oh yeah, no, you already said it. I already said them all. Respect for elders and usage of.
So when you make small talk with people, Jared, are they asking you why are you talking so proper, boy?
No, I don't think it happens. No, that doesn't really happen. But I think that kind of happens less and less as you get older.
Do you use sir and ma'am? Are you polite down south, Jared?
Not really, sir, but I definitely throw in ma'am more than I would. It's weird too because I have made the literal I would say mistake of using ma'am up north. Using ma'am up north.
Don't do that. You get some offended
that can
ladies.
Be offensive to people.
Oh yeah.
And I maybe I had just gotten back from Louisiana. I was still in that mindset or something, or maybe it's just every now and again I think I do throw in a yes ma'am because it is sort of ingrained into me because it is kind of serious down here, and right. I've said that to a woman in Michigan. Just some stranger. I don't know. Maybe I was at a grocery. I don't know. Some and she got offended. She's like, "Oh, how old do you think I am?"
Right.
And I was like,
when they said that, you should have pulled out like a crazy number, but like 85.
Yeah, like I don't know, 80, 75,
right. 75.
That's hilarious.
Right. That's funny. I had the same thing happen though when I used to work at the pharmacy back in the day as a cashier. I would use the term ma'am once in a while, just trying to show politeness and respect. A couple of them, they had a good sense of humor, and they kind of laughed and go, "Oh, ma'am was, my mom. Call me, and then they're by their first name."
It's not, there would be no abnormality down here too, especially like a younger person to an older person saying "ma'am." Like it's completely normal.
I like seeing that though, and maybe spending some time in an Asian culture rubbed off on me that I do like seeing the way that a lot of people in China respect and treat their elders.
Yeah, I like it too. Especially, I have a lot of cousins, and even some of my cousins that when I was a kid were little. Like when I was younger, they were younger than me, and they were like little shits and stuff like that, and super annoying to be around. And I remember my cousin Cameron. He used to always play this game where he'd be like, "Does that hurt?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, what about this?" I was like, "Can you just like leave me alone?" But
I'm surprised you never hit him back.
Let's not talk about that. But there are still but no matter how annoying I would find him, like still around my grandma, he would be very respectful,
Really?
And, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He
I wouldn't say
wasn't playing
very.
grandma. Grandma, does this hurt?
Very. I would say respectful. I wouldn't say very.
Okay.
But I just think it is more ingrained into children down here. Okay. I like it. I like it too because we've talked a lot about how in the U.S. It really seems like we're losing that sort of respect for elders.
Here at the Untranslatable
okay,
podcast.
boomer and all that stuff, and just no respect for their opinions or. Right. But I think that's less so down here for sure.
Which I think is actually a good thing. True or false, Jared? Southerners are obsessed with country music.
Well, what do you think my answer would be to that question?
Yes. Maybe. Well, maybe this, I'm going to call a spade. Maybe this is a race thing.
Yeah,
I wonder
if
white Southerners might love country music. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, would it be R&B and gospel for the black community in the South?
Black people invented country music, just as a reminder. So I feel like I think it is a race thing because I feel like when you hear country, not you, hears country music today, you think some white dude from the South playing a guitar and singing about his truck and drinking or whatever, and some issues with this lady. But I think country now what we classify as blues from the black community, I think a lot of times can be country.
Yeah,
and I think. And I think, 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 and So actually, I guess I'll agree with you. I'd say yes. But I think that not in the way that I bet you that question or the person that wrote that is thinking about.
Right. Probably not. Southerners live on or near farms. True or false?
I'm going to say true.
When I think of the South, I just think of like vast farmland and bayous and the nature and all that stuff.
You know, I'm going to say true. That not because I don't even think of a lot of farmland. At least because my parents, we live in Baton Rouge, which is a city, and then also I spent a lot of time in New Orleans, which is an even more populous city. And then in between those two, it is just literally primarily just swamp.
Okay.
But the only reason I said yes to that is because I have to imagine that it is, in the sense that there's a whole lot of open area, and there's a lot less big city. There's just a lot less notable cities in the South. Like I couldn't name three big cities in Mississippi. I could name Jackson, Mississippi. Auburn, only because there's a football team there. That's the only reason I know that. It's kind of the only, I couldn't name, and those aren't, I don't even know how big those cities are. So I have to imagine, this probably is mostly country if I can't even name a big city in these places.
Right.
And obviously Georgia has a good bit. Atlanta, Macon, Georgia.
New Orleans.
Honestly, the only one, I don't know how big Macon is. The only really big city in Georgia I know is Atlanta, I'm going to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. New Orleans and Baton Rouge are the only, really, Lafayette, but I don't really know how big Lafayette is.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either.
But so that's why I said yeah to that, and it seems like I'm right.
All right, what about this one, Jared? True or false? Southerners tend to get married young.
True. 100%.
Really?
100% true, yes.
So are you the outcast?
I'm not a Southerner.
Well, I mean, when you go down south, yeah.
Yeah. Probably. I'm in a weird place in my family because my mom is the youngest. So all of my cousins from those 9 other siblings, all my cousins are in their late 30s, early 40s at this point, and they all have kids. Not all of them. The ones that have kids are now younger than me, like late teenagers, mid-late, from.
So you're in the middle.
10 on, So I'm in the middle. But granted, my sister's married, so she's also in the middle, so maybe I am the outlier.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I would say, but regardless, most of my family had kids and got married younger than my sister did. Okay. Who's, she's a northerner like me, I guess. But I would agree with that. But it goes with the religion thing. I think it's more assumed.
Well, I wonder too if it has to do with, it seems like in the South, there still is, and maybe this also has to do with the more conservative values, that they really do value family, having a family. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of people I went to school with, guys and girls, the focus wasn't on family. It was get a good career and make a decent living, not do that and have a family.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that idea of a good living. Now, obviously, people want to make enough money to live comfortably, but it doesn't seem like that idea of just that money hunt is as big of a deal to at least my family down here as I've seen growing up up north. If I compare my experience up north to my experience in the South, it seems like the people I know, at least up north, are way more concerned about this idea of how much money you're going to be making and sort of your position via your job in society.
Yep. Well, that's my other question, though, is in the South, I think there's this idea of, there's even an alcoholic beverage called Southern Comfort, right? There's this idea of
hard
in the
working.
South, yes. Well, I was going to say there's the idea of having a little bit more slower lifestyle. Is that a thing down south?
Yeah, but by hardworking, I meant more I think they more respect someone that physically does something. And I don't I don't know if this sounds offensive or not, but I do feel like there's more of a respect for maybe something that you can tangibly see that this person has done. But yeah, I think there also is as well, along with that idea that you're going along with, a little bit more balance for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think you actually see that a lot with the food culture, like that then bleeds over into the food culture, because I feel like they take their food so much more seriously down here than we ever do in Michigan or up north. Like just the idea of always making sure people are properly fed, asking people what they ate, asking people what they're going to eat, like just the concern for how hungry you are and the last time you ate is very real down here. No one wants to know that you're hungry. Like,
you know what's funny is my students in China, that's like a trope I keep hearing. The first 2 weeks we talked about like making introductions and other stuff like that, and making small talk, and they just kept saying oh, let's talk about food. Have you eaten yet? Have you eaten breakfast yet? And me as a northerner, that's not something that we generally, at least in Michigan, would talk about.
We have no foods in Michigan that we're really proud of like that. And let me be clear, proud of to the point where we also, it's not just like something that, like, there's Coney dogs or something like that. Right. But I don't think on a whole we're that proud of it.
Pasties.
And people don't really make that. Like a lot of the food that people are proud of here in Louisiana stuff is mostly stuff that people are making at home. It's not like, this restaurant is known for this piece of food. It's like, no, my aunt or my grandma or this person is known for making it. I feel like is way more the vibe here than that restaurant is known for making it good. Right. And so I think there's
that's
just
a big difference.
There's just more of a connection, a bond that's formed through food, and you have to, if you're going to turn someone down for food, you got to be prepared. Like you have to really not want to eat, because it's going to be a fight. So it's kind of offensive to turn people down for food.
If I was in the South,
you will be. My sister used to always say that my grandparents would always tell her, they're always like, "Oh, it looks like you're putting on weight." But then they'd like force food upon her and like ask her if something's wrong if she didn't eat every time they offered her food. So it was like this double-edged sword of essentially them calling her fat, but then feeling like there's something really wrong with her if she doesn't constantly eat.
That's funny.
So yeah,
I
really enjoy it though. It's nice. It just feels like people care more when they're that concerned about you.
Sure, which is really kind, but at the same time, we definitely overeat. I would say in the U.S.
I think that's a perception down here is that I think that's another perception that we actually didn't talk about is that generally speaking, the South and as I mentioned, the more south you go, I think the stronger all these stereotypes go. And so in the deep South, I think it's a pretty strong stereotype that generally speaking, it's a pretty overweight part of the United States.
Well, the other thing, too, though, is from what, and maybe you're right, maybe I do need to stop listening to so much Bill Burr, but I was listening to an episode, and they were talking about, I forget the name of the city now, it was in Louisiana. It turned out that city became the fattest city in America, and it was in Louisiana. I mean, it was some random city, too. It wasn't like Baton Rouge or something like that.
Right.
But anyways, they were talking about how, that's kind of, that area is known for having the good eating. And I mean, from what I've heard, it sounds, the food down south sounds amazing.
Yeah, and it's really just what like their priorities are, because it doesn't like they're not as I don't even know how to say it. I don't know, but this idea, I don't think they're as obsessed about this idea of being fat down here. Like, I feel like if you were to go to, like, any of these coastal elite states, the idea of what you physically look like is so important.
California.
Exactly. Or like, or New York, or even like if you go to like, Oregon
probably
or
Texas
Washington, these very active sort of lifestyle states, I feel like they're a lot more concerned about like this idea, but it doesn't seem like they're like that is like as big of a value for them as this idea of looking quote unquote good.
You can't be hungry, Jared.
Whatever you might call that. And obviously that's a big generalization. Obviously there are people that care about their looks and people that want to stay in shape and all that stuff down here. But it just doesn't seem like that's as big of a focus, Well,
I think if you live in the South, the way you do it is you just become a football player, because then if you get morbidly obese, at least you can still be a lineman and still pull your weight around.
He's the greatest left tackle, and he can eat a whole full pot of
Whole
gumbo
pot of
by
gumbo.
himself.
Right. Exactly. Oh, man. I don't know, though, Jared. The other thing that has always come to my mind in terms of the South is also, especially the Deep South, is like my background suggests today, the bayou, and also just the animals and stuff that are in that area, like all the just different types of gators.
Nutria. Have you heard
snakes.
of nutria?
The nutria, they're these little, it's a mammal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a big...
It's kind of like a beaver, right? Without a tail, basically? Because I
kinda
saw those
gross
in the Czech
looking.
Republic.
Oh, they have them there too?
Yeah, I saw some in
It's
the
like
Czech
a rodent,
Republic.
kind of a gross big, like it's small, but like big as far as rodents go.
Right.
And they're kind of gross looking.
Right.
There's also like a bunch of like, I don't know what kind of lizards, but there are certainly like just like tiny lizards over here.
Oh, like the geckos, the newts?
Yeah. You see those all over the place.
They're
especially in the
cool. I
summer.
like those.
Ugh, I don't like it.
They were all over Florida when I would go visit. Those were always kind of cool.
I remember I
newts.
went to Hawaii as a kid. They're there too, obviously. And I as we pulled up to the hotel, I remember this so clearly. I leaned up with my hand on a building, and I felt like this gecko slither up. I was like, "What the hell was that?"
Oh, that is hilarious.
It was terrifying because I obviously did not expect that. So maybe ever since then, I'm like, no, get those geckos away from me.
Traumatized from your surprise
by the way,
gecko attack.
You mentioned we talked about religion, and you also mentioned "bless your heart." I would like to give you a few other religious phrases that I hear, a couple, I should say, the two that I could think of at the top of my head that I hear
good.
all the time down here. "I'll pray for you" is very common, and that one I would say is just as versatile as "bless your heart."
Right.
I'll
Well, yeah,
pray-
because you can say it in sincerity. You can say it
Yes.
sarcastically. You can say it probably spitefully, too, I would imagine.
Exactly.
I'll pray for them.
And then thank God. A lot of God-based thank the
Who
Lord.
knows?
Yeah, thank the Lord is a very common one. And I
Lord
think,
willing.
and why did I get a little blurrier? You see that?
Yeah, you're a little out of focus.
There we go. And I think I think we say thank God all over the place, but I think that the reason I put it on the list is because I feel like down here in the Deep South, it seems like they mean it. It's not just a saying. Like they're actually.
Well, if you're
thanking
more religious, I could see how you could mean that more.
because I feel like when we say it, it's more just a generic thing to say.
Right. It's just a phrase or a saying.
But especially when I hear like my grandparents say it, it's like no, they're thanking God. Like that's
Right.
not just a saying. Yeah. Do you have any other differences that you want to bring up? That's
Well,
all I
obviously,
can really think
I
of.
think the heat and the humidity
Oh,
is
dude.
another big one.
I walked around New Orleans a lot. It was disgusting. It was literally disgusting. And I was so ill. I don't know what I was thinking when I packed. I packed all long pants and t-shirts.
Oh, terrible
Dude,
idea.
I went on like a solid like 3-mile walk one day, and I just came home just like walking. By the way, no, this wasn't really exercise. It was just like it was
Right.
it was like a leisurely walk, looking at shit.
And you
And
were
I
just
came
sopping.
home head to toe, just like
Dripping.
drenched.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And now is actually kind of the best time to come. It's actually pretty chilly. Not chilly, but it's like in the 60s today. But like now is the time to be here. I've been here in obviously August and September and stuff like that, and that's when you want to die. That is fully when you want. Now it's just like it's not really hot. It's just humid.
Right.
And but when you get to the summer, you get the hot and the humid, and then you get like this. It's just like the humidity is overbearing. Like it's like this like this heat blanket that just pushes you down, and it's like it almost feels like you can like it's thick and you're walking, like it's slowing you down as you try to walk through it.
You can feel it for sure. If you've ever been in anywhere with serious humidity, you can like feel it. It's weird.
And for me, it's the humidity that causes. It feels like it's the humidity that causes the sweat more than the heat does.
Probably.
Because I lived in Pueblo, Colorado for a summer, which is essentially it's South Colorado, so it's essentially the desert, and it was super hot and super dry, and it felt way more comfortable than like 100 in Pueblo felt to me way more comfortable than like 85 here in Louisiana. And that was the first time I really realized when I was in Colorado was the first time I really realized that idea of dry heat and wet heat was a real thing. At first I always thought like I don't even know what that means. And then I was in Colorado, I was like, oh, I get it. I can actually walk around without feeling like I'm being beat down, even though it's hot outside. Yeah, the heat is real. I like it though. It's as a Michigander, it's nice. I really do enjoy it. It's a nice change of pace, I would say, especially when I come at a time like now where it's nice. And I'm still working, and I've actually, we do these chit chats with my coworkers, and every time I make sure I slide in that it's in the 70s and 80s just to rub it in their face.
Nice little humble brag
as they
there.
talk about how nice the weather is because it's in like the mid 50s there right now.
It's gorgeous here, but yeah, you got us beat by a little bit. For
Honestly,
sure.
though, I mean, I still think I prefer like how it was before I left, where it was beautifully sunny and clear up, but like in the 50s over like what I was walking through in New Orleans the other day, any day of the week.
Oh, without a doubt.
So yeah, I think that's all I have as far as the differences.
I think we've covered it. I think the cuisine's definitely a little bit different. I would say for sure it seems like the religious values are a bit different.
And it really goes into a lot of the culture because that also, I think, touches on the relationship aspect of it. They take, they get married a little quicker. They have a little bit more connection to family, I would say. The accents, very real, very strong.
Depending on where you are, for sure.
That's true, yeah. But we're talking about Deep South, and I would say that as far as Deep South go, at least me personally, I'd say it's fair to say that, and I'm not. In the Deep South, everyone's going to have a noticeable accent. Maybe not in Tennessee or like the South in general, but the Deep South, I feel like it's almost impossible for you to find someone where you don't recognize a Southern accent at all.
Right, unless Jared's walking around the South. Then,
yeah, unless there's proper me walking around.
Right. That's right. Staying nice and proper. But yeah, I don't know though, dude. I definitely do want to explore a little bit of the Deep South at some point. I mean, hopefully once this van is done, I can definitely do some exploring.
Is there any sort of limit in your head on the sort of journeys you're willing to take with this van?
Well, the one thing I do want to be very mindful of is like how hot or cold places will be, because I don't have the inside gutted and insulated. So I do need to keep that in mind. But as long as the temperatures stay somewhat, habitable while, sleeping inside or outside of a van in a tent, I'm pretty much open to it. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Are you planning on getting it? You plan on insulating it at some point, I imagine.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to need to, because if I'm not going and staying anywhere where it's super hot, I might not need to. And if I'm not, I might just not be camping with it in the winter when it's super cold in Michigan.
That's true. True.
But we'll see. I've thought about it, but it's a lot of work to gut out the entire interior and put insulation up and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. By the way, kicking this chair, and there's this thing that makes all this noise. You know what? I'm not even going to bring it up. Forget it. Forget I said it. I'll bring it up off mic. It's not even worth it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, Jared, I appreciate your insights, though, because you are definitely the expert for today's episode when we're talking about the Deep South.
Between you and I am the expert. I'm not an expert.
Well, exactly. That's what I meant. But hey, if any of our listeners out there who've never been to the U.S., you are certainly an expert to them as well.
That's true.
We appreciate your insights and all of your important field research, walking around in a very humid New Orleans, I think, as they say. So yeah. But anyways, let us know what you love or hate about the Deep South at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if we were right about those stereotypes. If Southerners really aren't more religious, if they do maybe get married a bit younger, if they do really say bless your heart, let us know on untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can slide into our DMs on Twitter, untranslatable1, the number 1. Check us out on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. I don't know if Jared has taken any pictures of his trips, but we'll need to get at least something up there maybe for the Deep South. So yeah, check us out. Anyways, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, and let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme, which is gracias, shisha, and dos vidania. Ooh, or we could have had like a jazzy Dixieland style intro and outro. That would have been something. Dueling banjos, I think that's what that's called, right? So how much longer are you going to be down south?
I leave Friday. And so
How do you feel? You happy? You sad?
It's neither. I'd say indifferent. You know, it needs to. You know, I can't stay here forever. I'm trying to buy a house. Although I'll tell you this, I started looking.